So then, the WRC is headed to Saudi Arabia. We have confirmation, and it came through last week at Rally Sardinia, that the WRC will head to Saudi Arabia in 2025 at the start of what is promoted as a 10-year agreement. And there are some positives to this. One of the positives is that we return to the Middle East. The last rally in the Middle East was in Jordan in 2011. And it's great to have more kinds of diversity in terms of the events that we'll have. The candidate event for Rally Saudi Arabia will run at the start of 2025 before the actual full-fledged WRC event will run at the end of 2025. They're saying November, so it could potentially be a season closer, but we'll have to wait and see for that. Another positive coming from it being a 10-year deal means that the WRC seems to have a bright future. If an ASN, one of the local motorsport authorities, is happy to sign a 10-year deal and pay what we could presume is quite a lot of money to host for 10 years, then there seems to be some kind of future in the sport. It's something that can get a bit tense, and I'll look at some of the criticisms in a moment, but it shows that there is some kind of long-term plan for the sport, and that there shouldn't be any worries about the WRC going away anytime soon. A third one is for the potential for it to double up with the Middle East Rally Championship. And this is something that I am actually quite a big fan of, and it's something I've been talking about with WRC calendar stuff for a while. What I want to see is more and more events where the WRC links up with the regional FIA events. We've had that before, was in 2022 with the European Rally Championship at Rally de Catalunya in Spain. And I think if they do more and more of that, it not only boosts the profile of these regional championships, but it also means that it gets more significant to win in the regional championship, because all of a sudden you can be competing in WRC2. And you can have a WRC2 runner who also runs in the Middle East Championship, or the African Championship, or the ERC, which we do see a lot of doubling up happening at the moment. But there are a lot of criticisms, and these aren't unique to the WRC, and these aren't unique to Saudi Arabia. But what happens a lot is criticisms directed at Saudi Arabia in regards to what they call sports washing. Sports washing being a subsection of what is known as culture washing, which is hosting all of these great cultural events and hoping that it will almost sanitize your record. So if you're a country that has had a particularly poor record on something such as human rights or international relations, then hosting something cultural can provide some kind of boost, as some people are like, oh, this country has this nice bit to it. It was something that was levied against before the Middle East places such as Russia, when Russia hosted the Olympics in 2014. Or if you're turning back the clock further, you could think about the apartheid state in South Africa. That precedes the terms of culture washing and sports washing, but in terms of applying it in retrospect, it certainly applies in that regard. But Saudi Arabia is seen as the chief example of it. It has an F1 race, Formula E race, which has at times been a season opener. It has the Dakar, and it has numerous other different events happening in the country. I mean, one of the big ones, I know I play a lot of Football Manager and it comes up, is the Football League in Saudi Arabia. And the Saudi Investment Group that, for instance, has put a lot of money into Newcastle United in the English Premier League. And this is the country which only in 2018 allowed women to drive. The first Dakar that happened in Saudi Arabia, they drove near the prison where a large amount of women's driving campaigners were being held, because they're still in prison even though women are now allowed to drive. And this is something that the Saudi state is aware that they are criticised for. That's why, for example, there was a driver test for women drivers in Formula E at Diriyah after the Diriyah E-Prix. It's why they are so happy to promote when you have Saudi female crews competing in the Dakar, because it helps for them to show that, oh, we don't actually have these policies anymore. But what it does also mean is people will look at the track record, look at the no change in terms of leadership of the state, and go, hang on, we don't think that it's done for anything other than cultural capital. And whether or not you believe that argument is up to you, but this is one of the big ones. I think the other one is something that ties in more with the WRC, which is how it fits into the calendar. Because the WRC teams don't want more than 14 rounds in the calendar. They say 13 or 14, that's a perfect number. If you have a round guaranteed for 10 years, what's going to go instead? Because what we want for the World Rally Championship is for it to be a World Championship. And currently, for 2025, we only have a few rallies that are confirmed. The Acropolis is confirmed, the Central European Rally is confirmed, Estonia, Finland, the new round in Rally Ila Canaria, which of course is a historic event that's been part of the European Championship. Rally Japan is confirmed, Sardinia is, Sweden is, and the Safari is. But we don't have any in the Americas that are confirmed, and we don't have any in Oceania, Australasia confirmed. Now, the conventional wisdom is suggesting that if a rally is to drop off the calendar to accommodate for Saudi Arabia, it's likely to be that it would be the Croatia rally. But having a 10-year guaranteed slot can start to put other rallies that are seen more as kind of crown jewel status at risk. Now, typically the crown jewels that we have, I would say that we have 3 events, which are Sweden, the Monte, and Finland. Monte Carlo is the season opener, usually at the end of January, and Sweden in the middle of February, and Finland, which tends to be, August? By slotting in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, that limits some of the flexibility that you might have. And one of the things that people are going to be critical of with it, and I've not really heard many people talking about this, is the candidate status event. Because the candidate status event happens in the same calendar year. Usually it has to happen at least a year before that event happens. So it shows the WRC is really trying to rush this through. One of the events that really comes to mind when it talks about candidate status is Rally Estonia, which for 2 years in a row served as a WRC candidate event and was going to for a 3rd year in a row in 2020, but was promoted to the main WRC schedule because of, something that is very clear to all of us from now on. But the fact of the matter was that in 2020, when it was brought onto the WRC circus, it wasn't done so naturally. But it has managed to keep its place despite putting into a rotation with the ERC for this season as an event that we love to see in the WRC. By fast-tracking Saudi Arabia onto the calendar, what it shows is there's a lot of money behind this, which can be something to look forward to if you are a rally fan. But at the same time, what it can also mean is something to be worried about if you are a WRC fan. Especially because if you want to see a return to the British Isles, Rally Ireland's been postponed for another year. If you want to see a return to Oceania and Australasia, we have to start to think about what we put in these slots. And the best way to do that is through rotating slots, rotating calendar slots. So having something guaranteed on that calendar for 10 years makes that really tricky. And I think that the final kind of criticism is, if you were going to go to that region of the world for another WRC event, there are a lot of brilliant candidate events, some of which are already part of the Middle East Rally Championship. Heck, one of those rounds is already in the European Union, with Rally Cyprus, which was a WRC staple for years. We also had the Marmaris Rally in Turkey, and whilst people are critical of Erdogan's government and the political situation in Turkey, at the same time that's an established event. It had candidate status before it went back onto the calendar. Or you could have the rally in Oman. Probably one of the more established ones is the one in Lebanon, which again, people will talk about the political situation, but it is a very well established event. And when you look at the winners list, you'll see Nasser Al-Attiyah, you'll see Roger Figali, you can go back a bit further and you'll see a whole host of different names from the past. Piero Liati, for example, WRC event winner. Mohammed Ben Sulayem won in 1999, piloting a Ford Focus WRC. Going back a bit further, you have Alan Arai with a Renault Clio Williams. And there have even been other names that you would see from WRC history who have popped up. Peder Solberg was there in 1998. Yves Lube was there in 1999. Drivers like Abdulaziz Al-Kouari or Yazid Al-Raji were there in the 2010s. And not only that, I know for me, I like to see more tarmac rallies than the Championship Rally of Lebanon's a tarmac rally. But let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section down below. These are just a bunch of different perspectives I wanted to put forward so that we can have a conversation about it. For anybody who is looking for my F1 video, the new handling model released on Friday, and that means that I need to go back to the drawing board a little bit with my review for F1 24. Thank you for watching, folks. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.